Hello you guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Jess Cannell, and if you're new, then I would love to welcome you to the channel and I'd love to earn your subscription today. We have a really interesting magazine to go through together today. I have had this one for quite a while and I've been holding it. I mean, first of all, look, this is 1969, the year that the astronauts first landed on the moon. So you've got this, the journey being pushed out here in life, and they are talking about it and writing. But the thing we are interested in, and I may take a peek at this one, but the thing we are interested in is Sirhan. We have been talking about the JFK assassination for a long time. We have done a few things here and there about the RFK assassination, but with the recent Trump executive order, we have been trying to learn as many extra things as we can about the RFK and MLK assassinations. And so this is one of my attempts to learn more. I don't know much at all about Sirhan. Like always, I've just pulled out this magazine. I will say it's actually in really good condition, but let's get right into it. It says Sirhan in jail, an exclusive interview and pictures. In the table of contents, this is for January 17th, 1969. It says, Sirhan in jail, the man being tried for the assassination of Robert Kennedy. Exclusive interview and pictures. So that is where we are going. Oh, okay. First, we have adorable Ford vehicles right here. Do you guys see those? I love the lines and designs of old vehicles. Kind of can't be beat. I don't know about you guys. I hate the modern situation with vehicles where all the cars look the same. I realize we want, wind capacity to just, resistance to go down. We want our vehicles to be energy efficient, etc. But we have lost some serious beauty, is what I have to say. That the lines and the sleek designs of days like this are gone. Like that adorable Ford Bronco, you just can't get anything more cute than that. Like I would drive that around until my dying day. I always tell the kids that modern cars are just a bunch of lumps, and that's how I feel about it. Is like compared to this, like that is so iconic and so unique of a vehicle, and now everything just looks like the same old little, it's a lump. Anyway, that's what I think. All right, we have Sirhan, Conversations in Jail with Sirhan, a name meaning wolf. So there he is. And that is him, maybe with, it says, in exclusive pictures taken at a meeting with his lawyer in jail. Accused assassin Sirhan is tense and brooding, in awe of his famous silver-haired attorney, Grant Cooper, left. Sirhan wonders that he is defending a punk like me. Okay, so here is the article. It says, for the 7 months since his arrest, Sirhan Bishara Sirhan, who last week went on trial for the assassination of Robert Kennedy, has been held under unprecedented security in a 13th floor cell of the Los Angeles Hall of Justice. Robert B. Kaiser, the member of the defense team, is the only journalist to have visited Sirhan in jail. So the man writing this article is a member of the defense team, which is why he is able to write it, but it also says he's the only journalist. So he is both. He's a lawyer, he's a journalist, and he's the one writing this article. We're also being told that the trial has begun. So that's the auspices for the article itself. Sirhan was thinner than I imagined. 114 pounds on a 5'3" frame. He was wearing a pair of 49-cent Japanese plastic sandals and faded blue, bell-bottomed prison jeans. No shirt at all, hairy chest. He was puffing on a Muriel Perfecto cigar. He was then smoking 10 of them a day, purchased with money deposited for him by his family. Already, I'm a bit struck by the fact that apparently our jail system creates clothing that is within the style parameters of the era. That we have bell-bottomed prison jeans just seems a bit humorous to me. I don't know. It's just a little bit funny that our inmates were walking around quite fashionable. In between puffs, he smiled, apparently amused by all the security that I and Sirhan's lawyer, Russell Parsons, had to go through. 5 locked gates, 9 guards, and 3 friskings. Sirhan's teeth shone in contrast to his dark 2-day stubble of a beard. When we shook hands, his clasp was warm, strong. Sirhan's cell is tiny, 6 feet wide and 8 long, with a seatless toilet and a sink at the far end. We sat on chairs while Sirhan perched on the edge of his steel bunk, his knees practically touching mine. Once, in an earlier public hearing, I had seen Sirhan take Parsons' hand. He seemed to look on Parsons as a surrogate father. And here it was much the same. Sirhan was a suppliant son, and at the head of his list of requests, he wondered if Parson had been able to locate 2, quote, Mexican-looking, quote, men who had talked with him at the Ambassador Hotel on the night of the assassination. Parsons said he had found them and went on to reassure Sirhan that he and his chief investigator, Mike McCowan, were doing everything they could to help him. At the beginning of our talks, Sirhan was wary. He preferred to talk not about his life, but about ideas and books he had read. Sirhan loved to read. When he was living in Pasadena, he told me he used to get up in the morning, shower and shave, shine his shoes, and set off for a nearby branch of the public library where he would read all the latest periodicals and pore through the books in the stacks. Now, when he has hard time getting to sleep in his cell, he reads. He has the deputies buy him slick magazines and bring him books from the public library. He ordered the Los Angeles Times every day until recently when he became depressed by world events. It's all violence, chaos, unrest, he said. Whatever happened to the old days, peace and quiet? He likes Esquire, but a piece in the October issue by William F. Buckley Jr. on, quote, the politics of assassination, end quote, drew his angry interest. Buckley wrote that Sirhan was, quote, neither de jure nor de facto American. He was legally a Jordanian citizen. His loyalties were clearly to Jordan, end quote. What does he mean? Asked Sirhan, his eyes blazing. Not American. Later, he told me, I feel like an American. If I went back to Jordan, I would be a foreigner. On another occasion, he said he feels like, quote, a man without a country, end quote. So a few observations of this is just he has a tidy appearance, he had tidy habits, he had the habit of reading and educating his mind. He has concerns about getting information about 2 men who are at the hotel, the Ambassador Hotel, the night of the assassination. He remembers them and he's urging his lawyers to find them. And then that he is depressed by the news. I don't know, it just struck me. I don't know if any of you have had this experience, but I feel like often when I used to go to follow the news, I often ended feeling like that. Like, I'm just angry at the end of all of this, especially back in the old days of, I remember Rush Limbaugh. I just always had the perspective of like, he is an angry man. He is just riling people up to be angry all the time. And doing it, no wonder there's road rage. Like, he's doing it right at the times when people are driving. And I never wanted to listen to stuff like that. I always felt like, oh, there's better things to do with my time, even though I enjoy the news. One thing I love about Twitter now is that I can get the news, but at a pace, at a time, and from people that I trust to either just share articles or point me in the right direction or, that kind of thing. I love Twitter for that regard, but also I don't have to have it on 24/7. I don't have to have an angry voice rattling in my head. I can pull up a news channel like Megyn Kelly if I wish to on YouTube or, the ones that I actually love to read, I'll say. I didn't mean to share all of this, but here we are. The 2 YouTube channels that I love the most right now for the news are the two channels that balance who is presenting the news in every one of their broadcasts. That would be a show called The Hill Rising. Right now, their only solid, steady anchor is the libertarian Robbie Suave. And then they bring on someone of the left or Democratic perspective to counterbalance. And they have gone through a couple of those hosts, and now they have sort of a rotating cast. There is an Irishman who is doing the job that I really enjoy, but there are others too that will step in. But that's one, is The Hill Rising, and the other one is called Breaking Points, and it has Kristen and Sagar, and they talk about the news, and it is fascinating. I love hearing news discussed, not that they never get their hackles raised, but it is not an angry experience. They are each presenting their side, sharing their viewpoint on what the news is, and I really am lately enjoying that presentation of news topics where it's not angry, but it's worldview concentric. You get to think through the eyes of somebody else that sees the world a little differently from you. And even sometimes the person who I would say I'm closest to perspective-wise, I still sometimes don't agree with them on each issue. And so I get to learn and be refined as those shows talk through the news. So I'll just throw those out in case you want to watch the news without feeling so angry. I love both of those shows. And if you watch either of them, let me know, because I'd love to hear from you about that. One thing is clear. Even his name makes him feel set apart. My name, he cries with real anguish. Sirhan, Sirhan. As soon as anyone heard it, everything else stopped. They wanted to know, what kind of name is that? I began to associate more and more with my name. Sirhan means wolf, and I became more and more of a lone wolf. It is hard for Sirhan not to think of himself as someone different. During his boyhood in Jordan, his family lived with the uncertain rootlessness of displaced persons. In America, even though Sirhan did well in school, he recalls a sense of estrangement which began at John Muir High School in Pasadena. There, most of the kids walked to school, some as Sirhan did, with holes worn in their shoes. Others drove their own cars, a few even Jaguars. That's when I became aware of differences between me and them, says Sirhan. That's when I knew I was different. As we talked, a deputy sat in a heavy wooden chair about 15 feet away, but he was hardly able to hear. A jail radio had been turned up loud on station KGBS. It was one of the little ways that Sheriff Peter Pitchess could give Sirhan and his attorneys some privacy. But the blasting music became a bizarre counterpoint to our conversations. Before we read about his account, I just want to show you some of the photos that are here on this page that I am seeing. The first one is a successive set of frames of the 16mm movie shot by a UCLA cinema student at Ambassador Raleigh before Kennedy arrived. And you can see a partially obscured Sirhan's face, it says. So let's see. It says it turns. Okay, so here, way back here at the back, you can see, I will try to zoom in so you can see that. It shows partially obscured Sirhan's face. Here, he's turning, and there, he's turning some more. So that's where he was in relation to the crowd at the Ambassador Hotel. But then we have this big happy shot. It's actually really a famous shot that shows Bobby and Ethel there in the middle. So you can see that. It says photograph later reveals a profile similar to Sirhan's at far left. They say it's right there, that there is someone with a profile similar to Sirhan's. You can see the close-up here of his face. And then they go ahead and give a cutaway mock-up of the Ambassador Hotel floor plan. So you can see, so there's the ballroom, embassy lobby, and then some of the back rooms there. Okay. I remember once in August, Sirhan was recounting the end of the scene in the service pantry of the ambassador. I felt a choking in my throat, and people were holding me and beating me and twisting my left knee and pounding my head on the table. They hurt my left eye. It still hurts. In the background in the jail cell, singing happily and loud, were the Beatles. So there's this contrast of they're trying to talk and express important things, but also there's this loud music, which was with a good intention so that they could feel that they had some level of privacy with the lawyer. In late December, I paid another visit to Sirhan in his cell. He was now wearing a white t-shirt with a long-sleeved blue denim prison shirt over it and a pair of lined slippers instead of the Japanese sandals. By now, he had become warmer toward me, more trusting, more open. I noted that he had switched from Muriel Perfectos to Winston's. As he talked, he left his breakfast untouched, fried eggs and a piece of coffee cake and some fruit, and smoked an entire pack of cigarettes. "How many packs a day?" I asked. "6, he said. 3 different brands." Like the cigarette smoke, Sirhan's face, I thought, had begun to turn gray. "Do you really think you ought to smoke so much?" I asked. He laughed grimly. Nothing else to do. Even his reading had grown grayer. In the summer, he had requested Les Miserables by Victor Hugo and Witness by Whittaker Chambers. Now he had a college text on logic and a dry book on Indian philosophy. But my anti-smoking commercial seemed to take. The next time I visited, 2 days later, Sirhan wasn't smoking at all. He was chewing gum. Whenever his attorneys visit and talk about the strategy they are going to use in the trial, Sirhan reveals his interest in the intricacies. We'll keep going, but I do want to again reflect on what we're hearing. He's not hungry. He is now nonstop smoking. This is 6 months after the assassination. He had been reading, now he's reading like nonfiction, but he's highly open to suggestion just in a little, like he makes a comment about smoking. Next time he goes, he's not smoking. So highly vulnerable situation, highly suggestible, and really like a sitting duck, like just sitting there in jail trying to get through it. It says, revealing his interest in the intricacies of American law. That's what's happening in each of their conversations. And he has developed a genuine respect for his attorneys, Russell Parsons and Grant Cooper. After Cooper, a West Coast trial lawyer who can command fees in 6 figures, entered this case, he persuaded 2 other men of stature to help him. One was Dr. Bernard Diamond, a forensic psychiatrist with chairs at 3 California faculties. The other was Amelie Zola, called Zook Berman, a noted New York trial lawyer who won national attention in 1965 with a brilliant defense of Sergeant Matthew McEwen, the drill instructor who led the so-called Paris Island Death March. Berman is a Jew. So, for that matter, is Diamond. "I don't care if they are Jews," said Sirhan. "If Mr. Cooper wants them in the case, I want them." Similarly, when back in June, Sirhan's brother Adel came to the jail with A.L. Weirin, the Southern California attorney for the ACLU, the American Civil Liberties Union, Adel asked Sirhan, "You want this man to help you?" "Yes," said Sirhan. "He's a Jew, isn't he?" asked Adel. Adel has no apparent anti-Jewish bias, but he was testing his brother. "Yes," said Sirhan, "but he's a good Jew." One thing we have learned by reading these old magazines is that, words are used and phrases are referenced as normal that we would no longer use as appropriate. We wouldn't view them as appropriate comments, but it is giving us a look at this man, that he's Jordanian and yet he doesn't seem to have an axe to grind against Jews. "Death would be better," she said when she saw the cell. This is his mother. Sirhan's mother, Mary, brought him a new suit for the trial. This is her in the middle. It says, flanking her inside Hall of Justice are her youngest son, Munir, with the dark glasses, and defense attorney Russell Parsons. Sirhan's case is being heard by Judge Herbert V. Walker at Wright, who sentenced Carol Chessman and has sent 18 men to death row. He has a reputation for fair-mindedness. The trial is expected to go on for 3 months or more. Oh, this is the judge here. A reputation for fair-mindedness. I mean, honestly, as I'm hearing the legal makeup of this situation, I'm very pleased for Sirhan. My personal view, I think it's the view of our laws, is that every defendant is entitled to a secure defense, a real defense, a robust defense that can be mustered so that someone isn't disadvantaged because they are poor, because they are mentally deficient, because they are originally from another nation. Any number of factors could put someone at a disadvantage, but instead he has very well-educated lawyers. He has a team of them. He has people bringing him ACLU and other lawyers to come to his assistance so that he is provided with the best possible chance of defending himself and not falling prey to, fancy footwork from some opposing lawyer. And then also that he has this judge that's known for fair-mindedness. It just makes me glad. I am always glad to hear about honor and integrity in our legal system. We all deserve that, no matter our political persuasion, no matter how hard the crime that we are accused of, we all deserve that. I started to leave. As the deputy closed the heavy sailcloth curtains around the cell, I thought of the words Mary Sirhan was reported to have said when she first saw Sirhan's cell. Death would be better. But Sirhan's mother, a woman who says her prayers and reads her Bible every day, clings to her faith that somehow, some way, her son will be acquitted. It's interesting. He's still in jail right now, and my assumption would be that she has now passed. So that feels like a little bit of a sad sentence to me. As a mother, any of us can identify with that sweet heart of a mother that would be like, I don't want you in this place. I don't want you here having to be in a position where the only thing you have to do is just smoke 6 packs of cigarettes a day and have your curiosity and interest and delight in learning and all of that to be whittled down to where all you want to do is read a textbook. At the Sirhan home in Pasadena, I asked Adel Sirhan how his mother was taking all this. Sometimes, said Adel, I think she is going to flip. But Mary Sirhan only smiles painfully at the same question. She is a tough old lady who has seen a lot of suffering and felt a lot of sorrow. And she has a pile of sympathetic letters to prove there are others in the world who understand her grief. One envelope contains a telegram from the mother of Lee Harvey Oswald. Wow. That's interesting that Marguerite would have reached out to Mary. But Mary Sirhan is no longer on the mailing list of her Orthodox church. And that hurts, wow, to be removed from your church list because your son did something terrible. That's sad. I really hate that. You should not, at such a moment, you need the balm of fellowship with brothers and sisters in Christ. I mean, even if you were the accused, you would need that because there's not a certainty of guilt. Even if you were the accused, you need that more than ever. You need your brothers and sisters, but especially if it's your son, you need the consolation of constancy of relationships, and particularly of those who can help remind you, hey, we'll stand beside you. We'll be, there's this picture in the Old Testament of Moses when the Israelites were going into battle, and as long as he held up a staff, the people would win the battle. They could look up, they could see the staff, they would be enthusiastic and go, and they were doing well. But because he was old, his arms would droop. And so pretty soon, 2 of his assistants came beside him and helped hold up his arms so that the people could see the staff and they could go on to win. And you need, we talk about that, people who come alongside one another like Moses, and help hold up your arms You need people who come beside you in moments of weakness and remind you of what's actually true, help you hold up the things that you claim to believe. They will stand beside you and say, God is still good. God is still faithful. Don't give up. Like, I know this is hard. We're here with you. Oh, I'm grieving with you. Somebody who can remind you of the eternal things that you actually do believe, but in a moment of weakness, you feel frail. You feel vulnerable. Like Moses' arms, your tendency is to droop and to sag because you're just bowed down under the weight of exhaustion of a trial like this. And so it makes me really sad that her church would take her off the mailing list. I mean, we aren't told exactly why. Maybe she said some hateful things or something, but my suspicion is they didn't want to have a connection to her, and then they could say she's not listed here as a member. But we don't know, so I don't want to pass judgment on that church, but it makes me sad that she lost Christian fellowship at such a moment. The family members keep themselves closely informed about the legal procedures connected with Sirhan's defense. In addition, Mary Sirhan keeps the June 14th issues of Time and Newsweek on a buffet table in the dining room, and the special Kennedy issues of Life and Look on the coffee table in the living room. We have some of those articles, and in fact, there's a wonderful Kennedy issue that I have been saving for the right time. I don't know if we'll do it before or after the files are released for the JFK, RFK, and MLK assassinations, but it goes back into family history. It has fantastic photos of the Kennedy family. And so at the right time, I have been holding that one, waiting for a moment when we can all sit and bask in the photos and think about it. But she had it there on her coffee table. She picks up the magazines now and then and talks to the face of Robert Kennedy on the Time cover, telling him how sorry she is. Kennedy, moreover, talks to her. It's okay, Mary, he says. I forgive you. It's okay. I should hate to look at his picture, says Mary Sirhan, but I have to. The look on his face, I keep going back to it. Wow. That's what we get. Isn't that fascinating? I do want to look, when I flipped the page, we get the astronauts. It says they write their stories of the flight. This is from January 17th, 1969. A science fiction world, awesome, forlorn beauty. This is by Frank Gorman, who is at the left in this photo. Training for man's first exploration into space. So there are photos shown. There's an article here by Jim Lavelle, an extended article, way more words than photography, but it shows them training, all of the technical problems they are solving. Here we have a photo of the moon. We have our little classic Campbell's soup ads. See the little, it says, is the soup leading a double life? Well, let me know. I'm just going to flip through to make sure we're not missing anything else, any other follow-ups about this. I think that's all that we have. But let me know what you think about these thoughts that we've gotten to think through today. About Sirhan, about his legal team, his state of mind, their desire to protect him. There is an article about Elizabeth Taylor. It says, while Burton romances Rex, Liz weighs her power and her future. There is a picture here of Richard Burton, her husband, giving Rex Harrison a haircut here in this one, or hairdressing for a movie set. Well, yep, and then here's a picture of Liz there in the background on the set. it's interesting to see magazines like this and just remind ourselves all the different things that were happening simultaneously. Men on the Moon, Sirhan, Liz Taylor, beautiful cars, and a Coca-Cola ad. What can we do for you when there's 3 feet of snow on the ground? Luckily for all of us, you still get thirsty in the winter. So that's their spiel in January. Well, that is Life magazine from January 17th, 1969. Let me know what you noticed. It's interesting to hear Sirhan's just plain spoken thoughts like that, observations about him from someone who didn't have the need to present one image or another. It sounds like he's just observing and reporting to us what he sees about this man. So let me know what you notice in the comments. I look forward to hearing that. I'm sure we will be reading more about Sirhan in the months to come. I do want to let you know that we have, I believe, 2 videos remaining before what I'm about to describe. So we have 2 videos of Palace Papers that we're going to get through as the next 2 videos. And then we are going to enter what I am calling Kennedy Weeks. For spring break this year, I have been pre-selecting and pre-recording, because I'm going to be doing some travel and just busyness during those weeks, a bunch of awesome articles, books, anything that we like about Kennedys. It will be all things Kennedy during Kennedy Weeks. And so it's going to be about 2 weeks worth of just boom, 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 boom. We are going to finish up our Death of a President series, and we are going to get through some other really interesting Kennedy related articles. So be on the lookout for that. But we have 2 Palace Papers between now and then we will enter our Kennedy week. So I hope you'll come back for that. Binge away, enjoy it. If you missed the first 5 episodes of Death of a President, you'll want to check those out, because we are going to be wrapping up that series during Kennedy weeks. So I wanted to let you guys know about that, and I hope you'll come back and enjoy those. I can't wait. But let me know what you think. And I will point you to a Chase Hughes video that we talked about, that's specifically about hypnosis and the theories that perhaps Sirhan had been under a state of heightened suggestion during the events at the Ambassador Hotel. That is a video worth checking out, so I will link that in the show notes, and you guys have a great day.